person to climb the 7 summits. Now, raise your hand if you do know what the 7 summits are. Anybody? Well, for the 7 summits are actually the highest mountain on every continent, and those are the mountains that I'm going to climb. And first there's Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa. It is 19,340 feet. Then there's Mount Kosciuszko, the highest mountain in Australia, and it's only 7,310 feet. And then there's Mount Elbrus in Russia, the highest mountain in Europe, and it's 18,510 feet. And then we have Mount Aconcagua, the tallest mountain in South America, and that is 22,841 feet. And then there is Mount McKinley, also known as Denali, in Alaska, the highest mountain in North America, and that is 20,320 feet. And then we got Karstens Pyramid in Papua, the highest mountain in Oceania, that's 16,024 feet. And then we have Mount Vinson Massif in Antarctica, and that is 16,050 feet. And then last we got the tallest mountain in the world and Asia in Tibet and Nepal, and that is Mount Everest at 29,035 feet. So, the mountains I've climbed so far, well, actually how I found this goal, or how it found me. I was in the 4th grade, and I used to go to school down in Lucerne, a little elementary school, and I found this mural that a 5th grade teacher had painted of these 7 summits, like a painting on the wall. Then every day I would walk by it, and such fascination, and just think about what would it be like to climb these mountains. Then one day, my dad picked me up from school, and I said, "Dad, I want to climb the 7 summits." And the best part about my dad is he will not say no to anything. If I have something in mind, he will do his best to help support it and help make it happen. He told me all the things and all the hardest parts about the climbing. I said I'm still up for it. Then we trained a whole year for my first mountain, the highest mountain in Africa, and that is Mount Kilimanjaro. And I summited that at 10 years old, which led to the next mountain. Which led to the next mountain, Mount Kosciuszko, the highest mountain in Australia, and as you can see, it's 7,310 feet. That's about as high as we are here in Big Bear. But if there wasn't such bad weather, it would have been a nice day hike. But it was so horrible. You could not see 50 feet out in front of you, and the winds were about 60, 70 miles an hour. And there is me at the top. And then it actually led to Mount Elbrus in Russia, tallest mountain in Europe. That one was harder than Kilimanjaro, even though it was shorter. It was harder because you're walking on nothing but snow and ice, and that mountain taught me a lot of lessons. But one of the most important ones was to put on sunscreen. Because next morning, we were looking like raccoons. Our faces were bright red. And because you're walking on snow and you're facing the snow, and up at that high altitude, the sun is just so intense, and it reflects on snow and into your face, so pretty nasty sunburn. And then that led to the highest mountain I've ever climbed so far until Mount Everest is Mount Aconcagua in Argentina. And that one was probably the worst weather I've ever been, because at the summit push, like the last day, we hiked for 8 hours, and the first 2 or 3 hours we were hiking in, alright, think about it. In Big Bear, last winter, how it was so cold, the pipes were just freezing. You could probably not get any water. Nothing like this. It was negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit at almost, I would guess, about 80 mile an hour winds. That was the worst weather I've probably ever been in. And then there is Mount Denali, or Mount McKinley, the tallest mountain in North America and the U.S. Now, some of you are thinking, Mount Whitney is the tallest mountain in the U.S., but that's like in the lower parts of the states. Mount McKinley, tallest mountain in all of North America and the U.S., up in Alaska. And every day it was, just all sunlight. The sun never set, so it's pretty hard to sleep. And that one is probably the hardest mountain I've ever climbed so far. Then we go to the most recent mountain, Mount Carcinus Pyramid in Indonesia. Probably the funnest and shortest climb I've done, because rock climbing is something I don't really get to do often, and for this I was rock climbing for about 9 hours, so it was pretty fun. In a place called Indonesia, it's in the islands above Australia. I love that place. People are friendly, good food. Anyway, that mountain was actually, I just did it in 8th grade, so my most recent one. Then we have the next mountains. I only have 2 more mountain climbs, but before that, and climbing the mountains I have already done, it all hasn't been easy. First there was Mount Aconcagua, the mountain in South America. It was probably the hardest one by far to get to, because there was an age limit of 14 and I was only 11 at the time. But Karen and my dad, we spent almost 2 weeks down in Mendoza, Argentina, just getting through all the court stuff and everything. Finally, at the last minute, we got special permission, and we were able to climb it then. Then, after that was Mount Denali in North America. That was the hardest mountain physically, technically, and a bit mentally. And on the physical side, it was a combination of everything possible in mountain climbing, such as ropes and ascending, and it's just all very complicated, and you're on very steep slopes and on these 3-foot wide ridges with one drop down like 5,000 feet. It was pretty scary. And then we have the upcoming Mount Vinson in Antarctica. So far, we have done some work, but it's just, we've been working our butts off to try to just get to there, because there's an age limit of 16 to get on the flight to fly to Antarctica. Not to climb the mountain, but just to fly there. And I'm only 13. So we're working on getting special permission, and I'm really looking forward to that. And that leads us to my next 2 mountains. And I only climbed 6 mountains at the age of, well, in a period of time of only 3 years. And to think about only 2 summits left to climb, it, to me, feels like I only started yesterday. Then we have Mount Vinson this winter to climb in Antarctica, which will be, the next January 2nd we are leaving. It will be summer down there when it's winter up here, but still, it can be the worst. It can be just horrible weather out of nowhere. Any mountain is unpredictable. You never know what's going to throw at you next. Then we have my final mountain, the tallest mountain in the world, Mount Everest to climb next year in 2012, in April, May, and June 2010. That one will be by far the hardest mountain I will have ever climbed, obviously, and I'm really looking forward to it. And if I summit Mount Everest, I will set 2 records. Number 1, to be the youngest person to climb Mount Everest. And also, number 2, the youngest person ever to climb all of the 7 summits, and I will break that record by 4 years. So one reason why I want to speak to you is I want to motivate you to set goals in life. It can be any goal at all. And the first step is to set a big goal. Anything that you could never even imagine trying. So for example, I set this big goal to climb the 7 summits. And then we get into breaking it down into small pieces. So for example, I set this big goal to climb the 7 summits, and I'm breaking it down into all the mountains. And then I broke those mountains down into camps along the way. And what I mean is, it'll go from base camp to camp to camp, and then eventually the summit. So our next goal would be the camp, and we'll say, all right, our next goal is this camp, and then eventually the summit. And also keeping your focus and motivation, keeping your focus. Always keep that in your mind. Anything you set your mind to, do it. Don't give up. And also, we got the motivation, and try to put away all the negative parts, like people saying like, oh, you're crazy, or oh, you're not going to do it. Just put all the negativity away. I do it, and I leave all the positive stuff in. Then, next thing is to celebrate the small steps along the way on the goal. So my goal to climb the 7 summits. After each mountain I climb, I'm celebrating and saying, yeah, we did it. This is one step towards Mount Everest. So it's great to celebrate and look forward to the next thing, and don't give up.
Bringing prizes for you guys, for star prizes and different things last year. I'm sure they'll do it again this year. They were telling me about an elementary school down in Yucaipa who was doing pennies for Jordan, raising money for Jordan. And so that kind of gave me an additional idea to having Jordan come talk to you today, that we can beat pennies for Jordan. We're going to do spare change for Jordan, leave the pennies maybe at home. And so we've made up all these bottles. Miss Stopko is our first donator, and they all say spare change for Jordan, although she put dollar money in there, that's even better. And Mrs. McCoy and her husband Russ donated a bunch of bottles. You'll see they're up here in front. So far we don't have one for every classroom, but we're going to try to get one for every classroom. I have 2 more drying out in the office right now. And what you need to do, what she did, is she emptied out a little bottle or can she had at home, put it in a baggie, and brought it in and put it in our office jar. So start looking around, ask your parents. Money's okay, dollar money's okay too, 5s, 10s, 50s, 100s, $1,000 bills, whatever. But let's raise a whole bunch of money for Jordan to send him to Everest